Rev up your engines!
Well, if you've been checking out that massive supercharged 2021 Ram TRX, it turns out that the dealers are taking advantage of people. What a surprise. They are marking up those things as much as $50,000 over the manufacturer's suggested retail price. So they're asking over $100,000 for these pickup trucks. Yes, you get a 6.2 liter Hemi, a supercharged V8. The absolute biggest markup that was found was there was a dealer who, with all the bells and whistles and all his markups, wanted $143,145 for this pickup truck. You know, there's a limited amount of them made, so of course they start immediately ripping people off. I guess they're cashing in on the last of the great V8s because now they're saying that they're going to stop making the great V8 Hellcat engine and replace it with an electrified version, which of course has insane horsepower. There's no arguing that. The days of the iron block supercharged 6.2 liter V8 are numbered. So I guess the dealers are figuring, well, they're numbered, so let's rip people off as much as we possibly can and make as much money as we can before they stop making them. Now, they're using that ZF 8 HP automatic transmission, the one that the Germans make. The interesting thing about that is ZF's a very innovative company. Those ZF transmissions can go in conventional ones, mild hybrids, and plug-in hybrids. And they're even working at one that will work with electric motors. So you can see they're going towards the electric one. But the fact that they're be marking something up that much, $50,000, it just says that, hey, we've got a little greed factor going here. Bon said, my car didn't start at all after it was jump-started by another vehicle. Was diagnosed that the ECU was damaged. I need to pay for a new ECU to replace it. What's your suggestion? Well, my first suggestion would be is do not buy a mini Countryman. They're money pits as they age. Now, you're kind of screwed because very few people are going to have computers for a mini Countryman, and it's going to have to be reprogrammed by a guy who works on minis and BMWs, the BMW systems. And those guys do not work cheap. Pray and hope that a company like Napa can get you one and reprogram it. They can do a lot of them, but unfortunately, I doubt if they'll be able to do a Mini. I've had them do Chryslers, Fords, even Toyotas, but I've never seen them do a Mini. So you're probably at the whim of a mini BMW mechanic who's going to take you for a ride. It's unfortunate, but that's the way that it goes. And being BMW, a lot of times you can't go buy a junkyard one because a lot of times they make them that once they've been programmed, you can't reprogram them correctly for another car. And they say that's for, keep people from stealing them and selling them. It's just another gimmick to have BMW Mini rip you off on stuff. That's one reason I tell you, never buy a Mini when they break. And if somebody jumped your car wrong and ruined that computer, ooh, boy, I'd want to strangle the people that jump-started it that way. If you're going to jump-start a car like that, do not have the other car running. Just connect cables, positive to positive and negative on the car that you're jumping from to a ground on your car somewhere. Not on the battery to make a spark, but on the ground. And if you didn't do it right and ruined it, you're kind of screwed now because nobody works on those things cheaply. And like they say, odds are you can't even buy a used one. It probably will not work. Can't really reprogram them correctly, and you'd have to find one from a Mini Countryman the same year, the same transmission, because they're all different inside. You don't want to mess with expensive electric pairs on a Mini. All my customers that had them, except for my next door neighbor, who was a real nice English woman who was from England, and she kept buying them even though they kept breaking. All my other customers bought them. They said, I'll never buy another one of these piles of junk. Roy Hines says, Scotty, when's the best time to check the engine oil? Warm or cold engine? Some experts say warm, others when it's cold. It's an old 2010 Honda Pilot. Well, that's not old to me. That's a youngster. I'm driving cars from the 90s, you know. Best is just to check it first thing in the morning when it's cold, because you got it at a flat level, everything's drained correctly, so you get a correct reading. If you check it warm, you can, but you still want to wait 15, 20 minutes for it to settle down, because some of the oil will still be in the top of the engine. It's got to drain down. And you get a correct reading when it's cold. Because realize, any oil, when it gets hot, it expands to some extent, and you get a little bit of a higher reading. Cold is really the best way to check it. Just make sure it's at level. Because once even my father ran a gas station, he told me, I'm worried about my Toyota, it's low on oil. I said, where'd you check it? And he was on vacation. He was in a parking lot that was at an angle. I parked it on a flat part that was full. And this is a guy who ran a gas station, so, you always got to check them on level. Just make sure it's level, not angled left, right, or front, back either. Mr. Bob says, I just bought a 2021 Kia Sorento. The tire pressure indicators only work while the car's moving. According to the dealer, this is normal. If your tires aren't low, you don't want to know before you pull out of your driveway. On other car brands, the tire sensors work the same way. Some of them do, and some of them don't. The reason that they're doing that is because that makes the batteries in the tire sensors last longer. They only work while the car is moving, so they'll last longer. Now, to me, the whole thing is stupid that they have the batteries inside your tire stems on the inside of the vehicle, so you got to replace them as units, pull them out, take the tires apart, put them in, rebalance the tires when the batteries go bad. So, I've even shown there's aftermarket tire sensor systems, they screw on the outside. And not only are they easy to replace, but you unscrew them, you can take them apart and get one of those little watch batteries at a drugstore, put them back in again. Voila, they work without having to take the tire apart and rebalance the tire. Of course, you know, they never want to do something like that because that would save them from making a bunch of profits selling you the new stems and the battery systems when they wear out. But there are some that do that, and there are some that don't. It will make the batteries last longer. You know, I mean, I was working on a Honda the other day, and the guy said, "What's wrong? My light's on." I said, "Look, I put my computer," and I said, "Your car's 12 years old. The battery's got to be going bad, and 3 of the 4 of the batteries are shot." And I said, "Unless you want to spend a whole bunch of money, hundreds and hundreds of dollars replacing them, I'll just get a tire gauge and measure it that way." John Newman says, "I got a 93 Buick Roadmaster, 107,000 miles automatic, live about an hour from Chicago, Chi-Town. Should I start the car every 6 to 8 hours so the battery and car will work in this frigid weather? It's 0 degrees to -8. The new battery was installed in January 2021. That's not that bad of an idea because when it gets that cold, you never know. And if you start it every 8 hours, let it sit there and run for 15, 20 minutes, that should be perfectly fine. And it will make it last longer. I mean, your battery's only, what, a year and a month old, so it should hold up. But if it finally craps out, go get another battery. Batteries aren't made like they used to. They're making them cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and they don't last as long as they used to either. Well, what happens if you go off-road and get stuck? Well, if you happen to be near Moab, Utah, which I have been, it's beautiful there. There is a man, his name is Rory Irish, and he has a 1982 Chevrolet K30 that he turned into this monster of an off-road tow truck. Yes, I'm not making this up, an off-road tow truck. This truck started life as a 1982 Chevy pickup, and he built it into a rock crawler for a friend. But then later he bought it back and turned it into an off-road wrecker. Hey, I guess there's a bunch of people going off-road in Utah, and I've been, like I said, I've been to Moab. It's all deserty, but when it does finally rain, floods like mad, and everything just gets stuck. If you're dumb enough to be out there during a storm, which may be 100 miles down the road, eventually the water makes it there and you get stuck. He stuck a fuel-injected big block V8 in the rear end from a Dodge Dually and 6 winches. He's really prepared, though. He has a welder, an air compressor, fluid, spare pumps, bolts, and steel plates. Because he says it's easier to drive a vehicle than to carry one out, especially if you're off-road. So even with that big giant thing, he might have to fix it on the spot. Now, Irish claims that he never turned down a call. And if you want some of his tips, he says let the air out of tires to help a vehicle float over a soft surface. And a pole can break the suction between the car and the mud. And he also hooks his tow strap around the axle so he doesn't damage the plastic bumper if he's towing somebody who's got a plastic bumper. Puts it as low as possible. And for what he's doing, he's quite reasonable. He charges $150 an hour if he's got to go out and fix them or pull them out. But if he has to carry him out where he pulls the whole thing out, he charges $200 an hour. Now, he said a difficult tow could even be as much as $2,000. So if you're ever stuck in Moab, Utah, call Mr. Irish and he'll come out with his little monster Chevy modified truck to pull you out of the stranded desert. Now, if you remember the other day, old Elon Musk said that he's going to accept Bitcoins for buying his cars in the future. He hasn't yet. But some car dealers have been doing that for years. Georgia car dealer Christopher Basha, he was doing that a long time ago. He learned it when he was going to college just as one of his friends bought a pizza with Bitcoin. And George started accepting Bitcoin payments in 2015. He said hardly anybody did. He said one customer used Bitcoin to buy 4 Kias for $150,000. It's a good marketing process. But, of course, you're taking a gamble. As soon as he got it, he'd immediately cash it in. And sometimes, between the time he put it for sale and sold it, he'd lost $300 to $400 because it keeps vacillating up and down. And I mean, let's say if you were stupid and you sat on it, what if a guy got it when the Bitcoin was $40,000 and then a week or two later it went down to $20,000, he'd lose half of his money. Another guy, Petro Frigerio, was a Lamborghini dealer in Irving, California, said when they soared in 2017, he sold 20 cars a month. But lately said people haven't been using them even though it's higher. He figures that they're probably just sitting on it. I think they're going to make more money with the Bitcoin, which of course is the usual greed. People keep thinking it's going to go up, up. Nothing keeps going up and up and up. Even if you got a hot air balloon, it'll go up and up and up, and then eventually it'll pop or run out of fuel and it'll come back down to earth. They never keep going forever. And of course, they have all these stories. Peter Saddington is the founder of a cryptocurrency startup firm called Emirates. Now, he bought a Lamborghini Hurricane in 2017 using Bitcoin that he bought in 2011 for $115. And that was to bring attention to his company and his cryptocurrency and say, oh, this is the future too, mine, right? Most of the stuff is just a bunch of scams, really, when it comes out to it. People are using it in a real extreme example that the guy bought him for 115 and then a few years later he could buy a Lamborghini Hurricane with it. Believe me, this isn't going to happen to a bunch of people, and I feel sorry for the people that invest in it and then they lose their shirt. At least the guy in Georgia was smart enough that when somebody did pay for the car, he immediately sold the Bitcoin, so that maybe he lost $300 to $400 on that deal of selling them, but he made a lot more than that selling the cars. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.